as I walk through the streets and lanes of my hometown. Well, I feel an old familiar feeling.
In 1887, my great-great-grandfather Richard Martin of Ketch Harbour married Alannah Johnson of Bear Cove. 17 years later, my great-grandmother Vera was living with her father over a store in Halifax and working as a seamstress. Aunt Dell was sent to Boston to live with relatives as they didn't have enough money to feed all 11 children. Then suddenly in the 30s, Adeline was buying and selling property in Bear Cove. Along with these documents, I was sent a picture of Richard Martin and John Johnson. I kept thinking, why would they take a picture of themselves posing with empty booze bottles? Then it hit me. I think my industrious ancestors may have become involved in one of the few thriving businesses at that time, rum running. And that was how Adeline was all of a sudden dealing in real estate. In 1801, Adeline's great-grandfather, William Johnson of County of Wexford, Ireland, purchased 200 acres of the original 1779 Thomas Clark land grant. 9 years later, he purchased another 400 acres, and 8 years after that, he purchased 400 acres of land at Halibut Bay, and shared 100 acres with an Andrew Scallion. By 1820, he owned 1,000 acres of prime oceanfront property, which has since been sold off and now boasts million-dollar homes. It took a while to find this old cemetery that had a whole grouping of my ancestors, but here they are. William's son Lawrence and Andrew Scallion were both young boys in 1801 when William started buying land in Bear Cove, and all three were born in County of Wexford. Sarah Pearson, also from County of Wexford, married Lawrence. I found another Pearson in the area around her age who was also born in County of Wexford. On his marriage record, his mother was listed as a Box. 1798, 3 years before William starts buying his land in Canada, the beautiful county of Wexford, Ireland, was embroiled in the bloody rebellion against the English. John O'Neill, my researcher in Dublin, sent me a copy of the transcript of the trial of William Johnson. This William was tried, convicted, and was probably the rebel sent to Australia that led the Vinegar Hill uprising there. During this 1800 Wicklow trial, not only was the defendant a William Johnson, but it was also the name of one of the witnesses and the person that was being robbed of his arms. Searching this name was just too challenging, so I went another way. One of the many tragedies of the rebellion was the Scotia massacre. The rebels were holding hostages in a barn, and during all the confusing reports of atrocities on both sides, the barn was set ablaze. People were either shot, stabbed, beaten to death, or forced back into the barn. Some of the names of the people who submitted claims for losses at this time are Johnson, Pearson, and Box. Adeline Johnson's mother was Kate Scallion, Andrew Scallion's daughter. On Andrew's marriage certificate, his parents were listed as Joseph Scallion and Margaret Doyle of County of Wexford. My researcher in Dublin found a marriage record for a Joseph Scallion and a Margaret Doyle at the Cross of Ballysheen in the parish of Carn. Their third child, William, was born the same year as my Andrew, and the name Alice was used in his family for generations. 10 years ago, I posted my first inquiry on the Roots Web Nova Scotia forum looking for anyone who may have known my great-grandmother's family. The first person to respond was J.J. Spearns, who told me he actually knew my great-great-grandmother. Through our email correspondence, he told me he was dying, but that if he could, he would help me from the other side. He was my first genealogy angel. We all now know that our DNA holds the codes from all those who came before us, all their experiences, all their joys, and all their sorrows. I believe it is the ancestors' voices that are carried in our DNA that calls us back to their homeland. I doubt that any of my Irish ancestors returned to Ireland, so I am taking them back with me. They left this beautiful but suffering and troubled Emerald Isle to find a new life that was filled with promise. Over 1,600 came from the county of Wexford at that time and landed at Bay Bulls, Newfoundland. The Johnsons and Scallions settled in Nova Scotia, and their descendants, 2 sisters, left for the big city of Toronto. Another 100 years later, here I am, preparing to travel back through my DNA to the land of my ancestors. First to Dublin to search the records and look for my Hayes grandfathers, and then to the county of Wexford to search for the mysterious Cross of Ballysheen, and then finally to Galway to meet the famous Martin tribe and continue the search for my great-great-great-great-great-grandfather, Peter Martin. My stay in Nova Scotia came to an end, and as I raced to Yarmouth to catch the ferry to Maine, I happened to come across a place called Martin's River, and I just had to stop. The first thing I saw was the Haynes Art Gallery. That was my Aunt Dell's married name, so with only a few minutes to spare, I stopped to say hi with my camera already on, and these wonderful people invited me in. I found myself standing in a restored 1750 house built by a Martin from France, the original location of the Martin name.
You see the witch's arch at the top?
Oh, wow.
There's an archway. That's to keep witches out.
Really?
Yes, they wouldn't be able to pass through.
Excuse the laundry.
Oh,
Yes, we got 250-year-old doors.
Oh.
As I travel now from Nova Scotia to Boston, I think of my Aunt Dell who took the same route and how sad she was to be sent away from her family. This series was dedicated to her memory, and I'm hoping my journey back in time to discover where and how my ancestors lived will continue with part 2 across the pond in the Ireland they loved and lost. I want to thank all the family historians, researchers, photographers, the people who sponsored this series, and everyone who shared a valuable portion of their time in viewing these webisodes. I hope to be back very soon with my next series. This is Alannah Ryane wishing you the opportunity to journey back to the land of your ancestors.